All right, and we're live on the Niche Agent. So today we've got a really special guest for you. It's actually outside of the real estate realm, but it definitely is going to help you guys out. So we got Chris Barr from Barr Direct. So Chris, why don't you take a second and tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Well, my name is Chris Barr, and my background, I'm a marketing executive for an Inc. 5000 company in the States, but my true passion and really just kind of how I made my way through the marketing industry here is in sales, and more specifically, the copywriting side of sales and marketing. Writing has always been my passion. It's what I, back in the day went to college for, and what I started off doing in the real world. And over the years, I really think I found, kind of the best way across all industries, not just realtors, but all industries, the best way to really communicate with people and get them to take an action. Really, copywriting is all about to get someone further down the sales funnel to convert, whether that's, filling out a form on your website, giving you a call, whatever that conversion looks like. And, with copywriting, kind of everything else is possible. You're paying to get people to your website. You're paying to send out advertisements. You're always paying for your leads in one way or another. And copywriting is what speaks for you when you can't be there, and what ultimately determines your return on investment.
Okay, so for the listeners, just so they know, you and I did a few projects a few months ago. You helped me out with a couple things. Great service. That's obviously why I'm having you on the show. So
thank you.
A lot of agents may not understand what copywriting is. So just kind of in a short, sum up really quick of what's the easiest way for real estate agents to understand what copywriting is?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So copywriting at the most basic level is a form of written communication. So here's a good way to put it. Everything that you read on the web, everything that you get in your mailbox, all that text is the copywriting. Copy is just another word for text, and that the copy is the term used in the creative industry. So for example, if you're having something designed, like let's say you're having a postcard designed by a graphic designer, well, the design is referred to as the creative, and the copy is what they call the text. So if they say, the creative's ready to go, we need your copy, they're referring to the text. So in a nutshell, it's the written words that you use on whatever medium you're advertising with. In this day and age, more often than not, the copywriting refers to the work on your website, your landing pages, or your email campaigns. Whatever you're putting out there to the world, to attract leads and potentially new clients. So that's really the definition of copywriting.
Great. Yeah, because I know sometimes a lot of people will think copywriting is where they see something where it says copywritten, like copywriting,
right,
where they say it's protected by something, and that's not actually what copywriting is in this sense.
No. Copywriting, it's spelled W-R-I-T-I-N-G. So it's writing. So that I'm glad you clarified that, because I get that question all the time, and sometimes just in doing this for so long, I overlook that. So it's a good point.
So if someone was just getting started, they're getting their first website up, they're getting their emails done, what would you say is the most important thing for them in copywriting to understand?
Well, the most important thing is to get your message across in a way that drives an action. So, for example, if you want to, I'm just going to use an analogy from a different industry.
Sure.
If you want to sell a pizza, well, that's great, but why is someone going to get that pizza from you instead of from one of the other 20 pizzerias around your location? Maybe it's because you say, hey, if you order a pizza from me, we'll throw in free breadstick. Whereas if you're selling a home, it's a different approach. Maybe to get the leads in, your copywriting would say, sign up on this form today, and we'll give you a free home value report, or we'll send you a free report on the comps in the local area, or something to that effect. So usually it's a give and receive type situation.
Right.
But there's a lot of different ways to do that. A lot of effective copy is simply just something that produces a positive effect. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here, but a lot of people respond to things that are positive, complimentary. You don't always have to give away the house. You can sometimes just do it, as they say, kill them with kindness. And that's a big part of what I do and what I believe in.
Okay. Now, in our industry, a lot of real estate agents have this image-based advertising. So it's all about them. It's their face. It's how awesome they are, how great they are. That's very contradictory to what copywriting is. So can you tell us about like image-based advertising versus copywriting?
Yeah, so another great point, Ryan. Realtors in general, they are personal brands. So, you've got Coca-Cola, you've got Nike, and then you've got your local realtor. And that personal brand is so important to them because that's what drives the referrals. That's what makes people comfortable in contacting them. That's why people trust them, because they're an established personal brand.
Right.
And that's huge. It's absolutely huge. There's no reason you shouldn't do that as a realtor. Building your reputation, your brand is key. Where the copywriting comes in, it's how does that brand speak to people? So you may recognize your face. You may know that you sell tons of homes in the area. But when someone's looking to sell or buy a home, what is going to make them connect with that person as opposed to the other dozens of realtors that are out there? So the message that brand delivers, that's really where the copy comes in. It's delivering that message that brand represents.
Yeah. The other day I was in a Facebook group for real estate agents, and we had a chat, and people were talking about branding, and someone had said it doesn't matter what message you send out as long as you just keep sending it out and keep sending it out. And I very abruptly said I disagree, because the words and the message does matter. I mean, the frequency does matter, but what matters more is the message, and the words matter, because words can make a huge difference. Obviously that's what you do. So, I mean, can you talk to a bit about how important those words are and what you say and what you offer and how much of a difference that can make?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. So a lot of people mistake one for the other. And what I mean by that is if you're sending out a message over and over again, which is the standard practice with realtors, anything from 3 to 8 impressions is kind of the norm.
Yep.
Depending on what type of offer or message it is. But here's the thing. If you're sending out a message that, either has no impact in driving, a return on, even worse, delivers the wrong message,
right,
or communicates the wrong thing, all you're doing is digging yourself into a deeper and deeper hole with each impression.
Yep.
Eventually, you become the message that everybody knows, and whether that's good or bad, that is your reality from that point forward. Going back to a simple analogy, when you see, a pizzeria that forever they're selling, pizzas for $15. Well, as soon as they make that change where they drop their prices to $10, it's almost impossible to go back.
Right.
Once you lower that standard, that's the new norm. And that's something that a lot of people don't pay enough attention to. They just think, I'm the best realtor. I can sell anything. I'm the best. It's a lot of times it's very ego-driven, which comes along with the territory where you're building a personal brand. You're invested in yourself, so there's an ego aspect to that. And what people do is they forget the importance of communication and connections and the context of everything you do. So when you do that, sure, you may say you can't. But what I'm saying is that's not your goal. Your goal is to do as well as possible, communicate clearly, have clients that understand you and know what they're in for, and really, with all that, what differentiates yourself from all the other realtors.
Right.
So while multiple impressions are very, very important to grow your brand, without the right message, what's the point?
Yep, absolutely. Now, one of the debates, again, in our industry is branded messaging versus unbranded. So myself, I lean more on the unbranded in the direct response marketing, education-based marketing, because, again, I feel people don't really care about me, especially online. People don't care about me. They care about the information, and they want to know, they want to educate themselves. And once they know that I can provide that information or they get that information, then I can stay in touch with them. And a lot of agents are on the other side say, no, it's all about me. It's about me. They want to work with me. So what are your thoughts on the branded versus unbranded?
Well, it all comes down to the scenario where you're mailing out postcards with 8 different impressions. Okay, so maybe like over the course of 6 months, you're going to hit a neighborhood 8 different times. Well, if that's the case, and if you've sold homes in that neighborhood before, that's really important, because then you're a trusted local person, and everyone from community message boards to local, referrals, all of that's going to depend on your personal, your name and your reputation. So in that scenario, personal branding is very important, along with your copy and message. Whereas with you, Ryan, you have a much wider audience. It's not, geographically targeted, for the most part. And, people are more looking for a trusted source of information, which you are, but your website is more of the source as opposed to your personal brand.
Right.
Now, your name's out there and you do a good job, and, if people want that information or research the level of credibility with you and what you do, it's out there.
Right.
But it's not the driving factor.
Yep.
You're not getting referrals. It's more about the great work you do on the web, and it's a different scenario.
Okay. So you had mentioned, you said 8 pieces in 6 months. Is there an ideal number? Is there something that that works, or is too much, or isn't enough for people if they are sending out mailing pieces?
Well, it really depends on the area, and this is something that I think the realtors are usually really adept in deciding for themselves. For example, if you've got, a one-time, huge opportunity that you've got to get the word out and just, basically just drive as many responses as quickly as possible, you may only want to do, a one-time mailer. If you've got like this one property that it's a really great commission or something like that, and you've got to move it, you think it'll sell quickly, then you could do an aggressive offer that'll just get your phone to ring as much as possible, or get as many clicks to your site as possible. Whereas if you're trying to establish yourself in a community, that's a longer term goal, right? So if you want to be the go-to realtor, or maybe several neighborhoods or something like that, that's where you need to farm the area, as they say, and really build that over time. Pick up a house here or there, sell a house here or there, and that's something you can't do overnight. Whereas kind of a big promotional campaign you can sometimes accomplish in one mailer if you plan it out and do it correctly.
Right. So for you, as on the consumer end of it, because you're not a real estate agent, what would you say is the biggest mistake that you see that agents make in their marketing materials?
Well, my wife and I, we just bought a home, in December of 2012. It was our first home purchase. Got a nice little place on the golf course, and we love it. But what really, really made the difference was we went to an open house and randomly met a realtor. This is no joke. We just showed up at an open house. My wife liked how the home looked from the outside, and we just stopped while we were driving out one day. And we met this guy named Mark, and he was the most non-aggressive, nice, and really disrespectful person. And, when you walk into a situation like that, you're expecting, a hawk to, come down from the sky and just scoop you up and sell you no matter what it takes. But he took the different approach. We started getting letters in the mail that were hand-signed. We got, things via email where it was just like, hey, here's why it's a good time to buy right now. And, obviously the U.S. housing market has had its ups and downs, so it's kind of nice to get some information about that. And what really made the difference is when we looked into this guy, Mark, online, all anyone said about him was exactly what we were feeling. He communicated respect and non-aggressiveness and a willingness to do whatever it took to make sure we were happy making a good decision. And that was critical as a first-time home buyer. The fact that somebody was looking after your best interests and not just trying to make a sale.
Yeah.
Especially for the first-timers, I think you're so worried that you're going to make sometimes a $500,000 mistake, right?
Yep.
And that really strikes fear into people. So what I would say is whatever your personal brand is, however you want to communicate, make sure you do it across all mediums. When you're in front of people, when you're on the phone with people, and when you can't be there, whether it's in the mail, via email, on your website, or anything else, make sure that that message, that tone, that image and brand that you want to project, make sure whether you speak it or write it, that it's consistent, because that's what will ultimately win you over clients and really further your own personal brand.
Good. Yeah, it's totally true. I just taught a class this morning for agents about open houses, and we were talking about the strategies in different ways. And the old school way of doing it is going right in for the kill. Are you working with an agent? Sign up here. Give me your name. Get your information. And we were talking about how important it is to connect with them first before you even go for a sale. And that's the same way with marketing. And I feel that you need to build that trust. You have to. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if you can't do that, they're not going to want to work with you.
Exactly. And here's a great example of that. Once you sell a client, that's great, but that's just the beginning of your relationship with that client. If you cut off ties there, you're in a world of trouble in terms of where you could be if you maintain that effort. Our realtor, writes us letters. We're expecting our first child. We get letters from him. He invites us over with his partner, to have wine and dinner on occasion. Yeah. And once a year, he pays for and hosts an event for all his clients and prospects, and he just he picks up the tab and he just does it because we've helped him and he wants to return the favor. And God knows I've referred my parents who had bought and sold a home for my grandma in the area. They used him. We referred some of our friends who are our age and just kind of, we're all young 30-somethings and that kind of thing, so everyone's buying homes now. Yep. And that would not happen if he did not care about us, I guarantee you it. So when your clients start to think of you as a friend and not as a salesman, you're on the right track. Yep.
So I want to switch gears for a second here. In our industry, we have people for sale by owners. They try to sell it themselves, and we know that most of them aren't going to do it themselves. We know that 90% of them never end up doing it. They end up listing with an agent because they can't do it. It's a lot harder. There's more to it. So in your industry, do you find that a lot where people try to write their own ads or try to write their own copy? And do you see where, like, a lot of people make similar mistakes, or what kind of stuff do you see people doing when they do it themselves?
Yeah, everyone, I think, at least, it's kind of like writing a resume or something like that. Everyone thinks they can do it themselves, but when you sit down and try to do it, everything just freezes. And then, 5 minutes later, you're on Google looking for examples, and stuff like that. And it's just a race to the bottom from there. But, that's not to say everyone falls in that category. I mean, there's certainly some very skilled, writers or realtors that have backgrounds in marketing and stuff like that. Yeah. But generally speaking, realtors look at things from a narrow perspective. They're too close to it, is what I like to tell people. When you're so close to something, and your commissions and bank account and your family, all that stuff's on the line, you tend to be very aggressive and forget about the details, the context that makes copy really effective and what makes ads really effective. You may focus on the perils of trying to sell a home yourself, or you start thinking about the negative things. If you don't use me, here's what'll happen. If you do it this way, you can cost yourself thousands, or it sometimes turns negative because realtors have so much experience. They look at the problems that not doing things with them presents, right? Right. Whereas I find a much more, I don't know, I'm searching for the word here. I guess it's funny as a copywriter, but a much more warm and inviting way to communicate with a prospect would be to say, look, you can certainly do this yourself, but when you work with me, here's what I guarantee, or here's what I deliver. Mm-hmm. And, by the way, here's 50 clients I've worked with that will vouch for me. That's something where you're shifting it off of the negatives of doing something, and this is all done through the power of copy. You're shifting the tone from a negative where if you don't do this, be scared, or if you don't do this, you'll cost yourself. And if you don't want to work with me, fine, but all I ask is that you give me a chance to show you what I can do for you.
Right.
I do this for a living. Your interests are my number one priority, and I've got all these satisfied clients that will vouch for that. Let's at least talk. Mm-hmm. And that's a much more inviting way to get someone to call you or click through on your website than saying, you can't do this, you're not good enough, or you don't know how. Yep. Right? So, go ahead.
I was going to say, I laugh because a lot of agents will say, you got to list with me because I know how to sell real estate, and I know how to sell homes, and I'm going to get you the most amount of money. And that they leave out the importance of copy, and they don't understand the importance of how a well-crafted letter, a well-crafted email, a well-crafted website copy can help sell them. And they won't pay for someone to do it. They'll say, I'll just figure it out myself, or I'll write it, or I'll get a friend to review it or write it. Yep. And they're doing the same thing that they say that homeowners shouldn't do, is they shouldn't be selling themselves because I'm going to get them more money. And a well-crafted marketing program, a well-crafted website can get them even more money just by making small changes. So it's funny because a lot of agents don't understand that.
Yeah, and this isn't about a lot of agents will say that, and then they'll look how many houses I've sold. But the real question is, how many houses didn't you sell?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's what are you leaving on the table? You're obviously most realtors, let's face it, are good at their jobs. If they put effort into it and they really care, they're good at their jobs. They'll get by. They might have some big sales once in a while and feel great about it. But really, that's not what copywriting is about. Copywriting is about optimizing what you do to get the best results and doing it in a way that can be split tested. You can put the same offer out there, on the web, right? And just change a couple words here or there, and you may through rate. If you have a yellow colored image on one page and you switch to a blue colored image on another, that might perform better. So there's a science to everything. Accepting the fact that you're not going to write your own copy doesn't mean you're a bad realtor. A lot of realtors, again, they just want to do everything themselves. They think they're the best. No one else understands. But, that's not the point. The point is, it doesn't matter how good you are at selling homes. It doesn't matter at all. It's not related to writing copy that connects with people. All that does is give you credibility as someone who can sell a home. It doesn't tell them why they should go with you. Selling homes is not enough. It's more about why should you be the one to sell their home as opposed to these 12 other realtors who say they do the same thing.
Yep. So for numbers wise, because a lot of agents want to know their bottom dollar, what kind of return on investment do you see, or what would you say people come in to before they work with you, and what kind of return on investment can they get by doing the proper split testing and doing the right type of marketing? What kind of difference do you see?
Oh, the sky's the limit. There's people that have no idea what they're doing. There's so many variables there. It's very hard to answer that question. I have people that they'll tell me that they've doubled or tripled their conversion rates on a form on their website. Mm-hmm. Or other people just say, look, now I'm emailing people with an autoresponder email campaign, and I used to do nothing.
Right.
So obviously, anything is going to be an improvement compared to what they didn't have before. But again, advertising is. I'm an honest guy. I never guarantee results or response rates. It's more about how can you improve, the variables out there like your competitors, your reputation, how often you do something, whether you cut corners on this or that. All those things ultimately affect your conversion rates and success. Copywriting is just one of those elements that can have a large immediate impact. If anyone ever guarantees you anything in advertising when it comes to response rates or conversion rates, run as fast as you can because all they want is your money.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it. It's advertising. All you can do is, put your best foot forward and then scientifically split test different ideas and ads. And then eventually what happens is you get to a really well-oiled machine that really consistently drives results.
Yeah. And I was going to just mention that as a lot good advertising is advertising that you can measure. And a lot of the old school stuff is put it up an ad in the paper, and no one even knew how much money they spent. A friend of mine, she spent over $90,000 a year, and she cut it out. She was doing print advertising in newspapers, and she stopped it, and she said it didn't make any difference in her business. Then I have another friend who does direct response marketing, and he tracks it. He was actually on the show. It's Chuck Charlton, and he knows when I spend this much money, I get this much back in business, and I can turn it up and I can turn it down. And he knows he's got it so down to down to a science that he knows when I do this is what the results I get. And that only comes from understanding your marketing, understanding the changes, and tracking and tweaking those numbers. And that's what excites me about it. For the people, I'm a numbers guy, and some people can't stand that. But if you can get just a simple grasp of just the basic numbers, you can make a world of difference in your marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing worth mentioning in this day and age is, a lot of the realtors are doing Google pay-per-click ads, right? And, don't forget, pay-per-click ads are just copy. When you're, searching for, if I go on Google and type in Realtor Ontario, and I see a bunch of realtor ads come up, some are going to say, the best realtor in Ontario. The other one will say, free consultation. All that is copy driven. And what you can do is now with the digital platforms like Google and other, paid search formats, you can quickly split test ads and see what works. So you may find out that offering a Google free consultation type ad outperforms a, free market report on the same ad by a 2-to-1 ratio. And from there, it's just a simple math equation, right? So now more than ever, this stuff is more important. So it on a daily basis impacts your business.
And the nice thing now too is it's that much more inexpensive to test because you have online means. You can go and spend $50, $100, test something, and get an idea of what it's working. Whereas before, when it was just print, you'd have to do a large run, send it out, wait for the responses, and come back. But you can get almost instant responses and kind of get an idea of where it's going and make simple changes quickly. Whereas in the past, it was much tougher to do.
That's right, and I would recommend that realtors contact you about that because you're right. You can instantly, at least within a couple of hours, split test different copy on Google, and you may find, so you find that version A outperforms version B, but when they click on your ad, where do they go? They go to your website, right? And then you should split test that too. Send them to two different landing pages. And then you find out does maybe version B outperforms version A on the landing page. And what you do is eventually that for every 1,000 clicks you get, 20 convert into, paying clients. So that's really what it's all about, when it comes to copy. But again, just to reiterate, copy not only does it drive the response, but it also furthers your image as a professional.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I tell agents you need to test on a smaller market, see if it works before you spend a lot of money. I had a friend, he went out and bought 5,000 postcards and then just sent them out in one blitz. And I'm like, you don't even know if that was a good postcard, if it works or if it doesn't work because you've never tested it before. You came up with the concept. I'm like, you would have been better to send out 100 postcards, print off a small batch, send them out, try something different, send out 100 postcards, send it, or go online. You can use online copy to test before you do print advertising. So if you're doing online, if you're doing newspaper ads, or if you're doing park benches or billboards, which I don't usually suggest, but before you don't, like most people don't even know if their calls to actions are working, if what their offer is worth it. So I always say go online. You can do for very inexpensively. You can test things, and then before you spend a lot of money on other higher paid marketing materials.
Exactly. You want to test it, and just remember, the question to always ask is what's in it for them. So like if you got, if a pizza place sent you a list of items and prices in the mail, and when you got that, you said, okay, here's the prices. What on that offer, or what on that rate sheet, I should say, is going to make you pick up the phone and call? Whereas, if you get another one from a competing pizzeria, and it says, call today, buy one, get one free pizza. Which one are you going to call? Right? It's all about, the call to action, what's going to drive a response. It's really, it's so obvious a lot of people miss it, I think.
Yep. So what I want to do too is I'm going to let people know we're going to have you back on at another episode, and we're going to kind of maybe go more in depth into actually writing the ads and what's important. So today is just kind of more of an overview, just to get people aware of copywriting, how important it is. So hold tight. We will have you back on, and we'll talk more about the copywriting. So just want the listeners to know. So sorry, go ahead.
That sounds great, Ryan.
Okay, good. So if you were an agent, where would you say the three top platforms you would be spending your money on for marketing?
So I'm going to put a caveat to that. So let's say I'm a realtor focused on a local market. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a series of neighborhoods where I want to really grow my brand. So 3 things I would do: geo-targeted pay-per-click ads from Google. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's something you can do, and you crank up the faucet or crank it down depending on your budget and how it's performing. So pay-per-click ads. I would always do direct mail. I still think putting a physical piece in somebody's hands and forcing them to decide, do I want this or not, is very powerful.
Right.
And I'm in my younger 30s. I'm a very tech savvy guy. I'd probably die without my smartphone, but trust me, when direct mail is done right, there's very few things more powerful. It's physical. It forces someone to interact with your offer.
Yep.
And that comes from my experience as a marketing executive as well. It's the backbone of every ad campaign is direct mail.
Yep.
And the other thing I would do is really focus on on-page optimization. That's where I would spend the rest of my time. And here's why. Back in 2006, SEO and website, link building and stuff like that was really just a numbers game. How many links could you spam out there? How many articles could you throw up overnight? And you'd see your rank go up in Google organically. Well, that is no longer the case. It hasn't been that way for a while now. And now SEO is about on-page optimization, so making sure your website is designed well and constantly updated with relevant content. And it's also about quality. The quality of the content that you put on your website and out across the web, from articles to infographics and stuff like that, that stuff is critical to your success. If you have a high-quality website with high-quality content, Google will recognize it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but over time, Google will recognize you as an authority, and any social integration you can build into that, like sharing links and stuff like that, is only going to help you as well. Yep. So just to recap, my 3 critical must-do marketing platforms would be pay-per-click ads, direct mail, and this would be multiple impression direct mail, and on-site page optimization / SEO.
Awesome. And those are all services you help people with, right?
Yes. And now I work with people, on the copywriting side of things. I'm not going to build your website from scratch. I'll get you the right content and copy to put on there. So that's really my focus is the copywriting. Yep. You'll want to work with a designer or web designer to do the rest.
Okay. At the end of the show, we'll put a link at the bottom as well, so you can get more information as well. Just if you were to pick a niche or a niche, because you're American, we're a niche up here in Canada. If you were to pick one, what would you? what would be yours?
Are you just asking me in general, or as
if you were an agent
to realtors?
Yeah. No, if you were an agent, in real estate.
Yeah, if I was an agent, I would probably make myself the king of first-time home buyers, because I think that is a unique market and a unique opportunity that a lot of people overlook because it's not the big money. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of folks like me, that are late 20s, early 30s, to the ranks of management and executive positions. They're getting the itch to start families and things like that. So I always thought not only is it fun to work with first-time home buyers, because I think they're excited, and here's the other thing to that, right? the younger the demographic you're working with, the more they will spread the word online and share and do stuff on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
So you've got a built-in marketing vehicle because they're so tech savvy. So for those reasons, I try to be the king of first-time home buyers.
Perfect. So maybe if you ever become an agent, we'll help you with that.
I would certainly hope so, and maybe that's my second career. We'll see.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up quickly. So two things. Normally I wrap up with a golden nugget. I'm going to get to that, but I want to ask you, because a lot of agents don't know where to start with copywriting. So if they were starting, is there any resources where people can read or books to check out or anything like that where people, if they want to know a little bit more or maybe want to see the errors they're making other than checking out your website?
Yep, bardirect.com. So,
is there any other resources that people could check out to get a handle on copywriting?
And he's really aggressive, so you have to take him with a grain of salt. But his name is Dan Kennedy. I bet you a lot of the realtors out there have heard of him.
Yes.
Go to Amazon and check out some of the books he's written. He does a lot of ebooks. But Dan Kennedy is my all-time favorite copywriter. He's just he's so blunt and straightforward. It just works for me.
Yeah.
A lot of people think he's a little bit too aggressive. But either way, the concepts he uses, I think, cross those kind of barriers and can be helpful to anybody. So I would start with him, and then look, browse the web, find out what are your favorite websites. What realtors do you think do a really good job, and then ask yourself, why do I think that?
Right.
Just do a little bit of research in your own backyard and see what appeals to you, and then use that and some of the advice and tips from the pros to decide, can I really do this myself, or should I go to bardirect.com?
Perfect. Perfect. So why don't you give us a golden nugget? So if someone is thinking about doing some copywriting, or when they do hire you, what's some good advice for people to take away from?
Yeah, my golden nugget would just be this. Always be positive in everything you do. Copywriting is no exception. People respond to positivity. I really believe in that, the power of positive thinking. So in everything you do, try to keep the approach positive. And as far as, if you have one takeaway from this podcast, don't be afraid to reach out for help. I know a lot of us think we can do it all ourselves, and, we have our egos involved, and that's cool. I get that, and there's a place for it. But don't be afraid to make connections and work with others. If something goes wrong in your house, you may not always be the best person to fix it, right? Sometimes you got to call the plumber. Yep. So that's my takeaway. Just be open to trying new things, even if you've been selling homes for 20 years, and see if it makes a difference. If it doesn't, you maybe add a few bucks, but hey, at least you tried, and a boatload of leads or clients as a result.
Yep. That's great advice. So, if people are trying to check you out, it's Barr Direct, so it's BARR direct.com. So you're going to put up a special link for everyone. You said it was bardirect.com/the niche agent. So tell people a bit about what's going to be on there. So
Yeah, so the special page just for this audience, for the niche agent, and I say niche because I am American.
And I'll let you have that. Yeah, if people want to get a hold of you, I can tell you, I've worked with you directly. Your rates are very affordable, and it's not just about the affordability. You're good at what you do, and it's definitely valuable and definitely worth checking out. So if you are on the fence, give it a shot. I know you have different packages and different levels, so if people are interested, they can check you out there. Is there any other way they can get a hold of you or find out what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can email me right from the site, or just fill out a form, and we can talk. And again, let's just chat. If you're just interested in this, you don't have to buy anything right away. Let's just chat about your project, what you're looking to do, and I'll be straight up honest with you. If I think I can help, I'll tell you, and I'll give you a price. And if I can't, I'll say, I can't do this, or you're already doing a great job. You probably don't need it.
Awesome.
So I'm very honest, and I speak the truth. And again, it's agent. And on that page, there's going to be discounted rates. If you want to try out copywriting with me, there's going to be discounted rates that you can only get as a member of this community that Ryan's building, and doing a great job doing so, I might add.
Great. I appreciate it. You cut out there when you said it, so it was bardirect.com/the niche agent, just so people do hear it. So, Chris, thank you for being on the show. We do appreciate it, and we're definitely going to have you back on, so we're going to go more in depth with it. So what I might do, too, is put up something where people can ask questions or anything specific. So maybe I'll start creating a list of questions or ideas or things like that, and then we can compile that so the next time you're on, people can get their questions answered.
Yeah, that'd be great. And in fact, if your listeners want to actually send you examples of what they've put out there, whether it's an email or a postcard, we can actually look at some real examples and critique them. And let's get people into this. And I'll do some real world examples the next time we get together.
Awesome, that'd be great. And we'll do a makeover for someone.
All right, take care.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye.